Talking about Sky, you've praised Geraint Thomas for how he's ridden this first week. Is there any flexibility there for GC focus over Chris Froome?
I don't know. I mean, they've said that will be decided in the Alps, but the way he's ridden this week, I mean, it's going to be an interesting dynamic because he's now got a minute on Chris Froome, and how that plays out when they get to the first mountain stage, I don't know. In previous years, it's all been for Chris Froome, and they've lined that train up and pulled off one by one until there's only Chris left, and they've normally laid a marker down on that first mountain stage in the Tour. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out, whether they now still play this, this two-pronged attack and try and keep them two up there. But at some point, there is going to have to be a decision, and what that decision is, I mean, we don't know at this stage.
How would you feel if you were Chris Froome in this situation?
I mean, it depends how much he wants it, doesn't it? I think, he's won the Giro, how important is a fifth win to him? Does he want to repay back Geraint for the last few years of work and sacrifice he's made to Chris? Is it going to be their decision? Does Dave B come in and kind of, do as usual and be quite divisive and, get in each other's ear and kind of keep them both motivated for the same goal, and there'd be a natural selection, whether that's the time trial?
Yeah, I think we can't tell until the mountains.
You just don't know.
It can be the natural selection. Either G rides away from Froome or Froome rides away from G, and then it's easy. If they're battling each other, then it's difficult. If they're neck and neck, then it becomes more difficult.
Do you mean they might give messages that both get out in a race?
I think that Dave will certainly get in both their ears and make them both think that they can win it, as a way of motivating them, as a way of playing this card for as long as possible into the race until there is a natural selection. One of them might crash one day, so they're not going to want to give up. They'll go first and second as long as they can into the race before there's a natural, maybe all the way to Paris. We don't know, but as you see, G crashed on a simple descent last year in the mountains and broke his collarbone. And if they've already played G card and Froome's lost a few minutes, then you've lost everything. So I think he will keep them motivated as long as possible into the race and keep them ideally first and second on GC until there is a natural kind of selection or whatever, whether that's a time trial or a mountain stage.
Do you think the other 6 Sky riders are aware of those messages?
I would imagine they probably. Well, I don't know. Is the truth. I don't know. They'll be made clear as to what's expected of them, what their jobs are. But that's going to be quite difficult. I think if we get to the first mountain stage and Geraint stays where he is now and he takes the yellow jersey, then they've probably got a real problem on their hands, because that means they're going to have, with 8 riders in the team now, they're going to have Geraint at the back, sat there in yellow. They won't put Chris Froome on the front, so he'll sit in front of him or behind him. And then they'll have 6 riders that can ride. So in other years, you've got 7 or 8 riders, to swap off and ride. So 6 riders riding in the mountains from the start with other teams attacking them and stuff. It's going to be a lot more difficult than the 8 riders. Factor in, you lose 1 or 2 up the first climb, a Luke Rowe or someone else, and then you're down to five guys that can. So that's going to be quite difficult to defend, which I guess was the objective of cutting the teams back to 8 riders anyway, was to make the racing a bit more exciting. And we'll see. We'll find out.
They said going into today that there's genuinely no competition. I think only time will tell if that's true. If there is genuinely no competition between G and Froome, then it's just strength in numbers. Then it's just they've got 2 options, but you never know when egos are going to come into it, or one's not going to want to work for the other. Even when it comes down to the point where one is in the lead, I think only time can say if that's
if Chris is feeling really good.
He's not going to want to.
It's going to be tough for him to sit there with that record on the horizon of 5th. I think, but that could be a card they play. They could send him up the road to. But I think we'll know more next week once we get into those first mountain stages.